Well, hi, here we are again once more. Not in the shed today. I'm actually sitting here at my computer going through this movie, and I'll narrate it for what it's worth. What I've got here, you can see I've just pulled a picture off the net to show the tank view, and you can see the cone section that I'm talking about. This is what I'm making today, and you can see there on the tank, even though that's not an exact replica of that tank, it certainly looks aluminium, and but it does recess. The formula for this is, as you can see here, it looks far more involved than what you think it might be, but the most important factor of any cone that you can see is the radius. If you look up on the left side in that triangle, you'll see that there's a radius there, and that's probably the most important thing. So you've got RH, which is the depth, if you like, or the height of the side of the cone, and H being the actual depth of the cone, and then which is transferred over to the right, which is the sheet metal layout, and you can copy that if you need for any particular reason. But anyway, moving right along, what I've got here is I've drawn that on my computer, and I'm here attempting to cut out the cone shape itself. Okay, so I'm using a jigsaw, and you look where the piece of paper is there on the desk. You can see two pieces of timber. That was actually, if you look, there's another way to do these cones. One is that geometric value that I showed you just at the beginning, or to use what's called a rollation method, which is to make a disc for the top, a disc for the bottom, and then draw out the pattern as you roll that disc across the paper. There's a YouTube movie on this made by Ron Covell. He actually covers it extremely well. So if you look at the term rollation and with Ron Covell on YouTube, he'll walk you through how that's done. I found the timber disc, it was just too shallow, and I couldn't get my pencil under it adequately. Having a bit of trouble here, because that's a very tight arc to cut around using the jigsaw. I could have used a different blade, I suppose, but I just this is the one I had to hand, and it did a rather adequate job. So the rest of that is just cleaning it up. that will take a little while, I think, and I'm just using a half round file and just cleaning up all the edges the best I can. It didn't really take all that long to make this, and it actually turned out quite a bit easier than I thought. Remembering I'm using 2mm aluminium, and so forming it by hand, you know, gets more difficult the thicker the material gets, and I don't think I'm inclined to want to do it at if it was, say, 3mm. So what you see is just cleaning it up. Lots of rough burrs on it, but it'll come up quite well. I'm running at a 4x speed here, so it just gives you an idea of how much I need to speed it up just to try and get through it, which will hopefully halve the time. A more interesting piece will come up shortly, where we actually go to form this around. And it's essentially the same principle with anything that you want to make into a cone. Again, this cone is where the sender sits down the bottom of the cone, and so it doesn't protrude into the top of the tank at all. And so carpet will sit over the top of all of that and disguise not only the tank but the sender as well. If you're filing aluminium like this, rather than a very smooth file, it's best to use what they call a bastard file. It looks rough, but it takes, it really removes the metal more than anything else. Okay, so we move on into where I start the bending. Well, you can see there I'm just got a bit of flat stock clamped to the bench, and the idea is to try and keep it that your line of bend always goes through the center of the donut hole in the middle, give or take. And the idea is just to bring it up slowly. It might take 3, 4, 5 goes, and a little bit at a time, so that you're not putting too many kinks into it, rather than it starts to look a little bit more natural. So if you bend and you try not to pick that same spot the next time you go around. So you can see I'm trying to keep that in line with the if you like, the center of that inner cone. At this stage it's just starting to prove a little bit more difficult, and then the hand takes over, and actually the hand it's probably the best thing to use overall, is just hand bending where you possibly can. So you don't need to use everything at your disposal just to try and get done what you need to do. And in this case you can see the thing taking more shape, and again you just don't rush it. Of course, the thinner the material, the quicker this would happen, and as I said, I wouldn't do it with perhaps anything thicker than 2 mil. I think those little bits of scrap have outdone their usefulness. Anything that'll give you a bit of leverage, that's got to be helpful. I think we're going to move over shortly to the vise, see what I've done there. Alright, the measurements from that, I've got actually 3 tanks that you might have seen in previous movies. 3 tanks to choose from, and of course not one's the same as the other, but that actually is what gave me my top diameter and bottom diameter, and so hence that's where I got my measurements. So again, the idea is to use almost anything at your disposal. And of course the actual tabs themselves are probably the hardest to line up, because you've got very hard to get leverage on the very end. Okay, so that's really starting to come together, and it's probably about the end of that putting together. And the difficulty is trying to sort out the little kinks that you might have developed. My inclination was to go ahead and weld that and then clean it up again. It's far easier to clean up once it's all connected and joined up. So I think we're just about there. It's only just finger tight to keep it together. Now, unfortunately, I didn't show the welding of this, and I can't for the world of me think why I didn't show the welding. I must have just got into it without thinking. So I did. Oh, you can see there the bits of timber for that what I might have used for that rollation system. As you can see, it turns up being pretty spot on. That was the outer diameter, the larger diameter, and then the little one is for of course the smaller diameter. I'm just checking to see that how round it is. Yeah, it's just smoothing out any little kinks that I could find. Okay, so that there I've got it clamped, and I guess I'm in the process of getting ready to weld it, but as I said, I just didn't do it, and so I apologize for that. But here it is, the two pieces. I haven't welded these two together, which I would keep as an exercise. So that's the other little piece that I just used 2 hole saws to cut that out, same way you saw in my first movie, and so that'll actually sit in there like so. You can see it's not welded yet, it's just sitting there, and one of the exercises will be to weld it up. You can see it looks reasonably smooth. I'm quite happy with that, and I think just with a bit of Scotch-Brite it'll all blend up really nicely. And that's it. Thank you.